This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. Go to braintreepayments.com/whatthetech for more information.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by my tag team partner in tech, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
So how did you do yesterday? You were in all your glory on Twitter.
Oh, sure.
As they call
Look,
in the wrestling
LeBron
business,
shows up for the finals. I show up for the Apple and Google events.
in the wrestling business, you would have been a heel. You would have been the heel. For that,
you know what I
for that
didn't get a
card.
lot of yesterday? I did get some of it. I always do. You know, I think people misunderstand.
F you, Paul. I'm unfollowing you.
You know, like, why do you have to be so negative? You know, Apple's just trying to change the world. You know, why are you being such a jerk about it?
I didn't think. You know what? I thought you were.
Really?
I mean,
Really?
we were doing live coverage here at the GFK Network yesterday, and John and I were doing the coverage, and I was following your Twitter while I was doing it to see like if we had a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
And pretty much whatever we agreed on the show, you pretty much said the same thing. I think this was more of a unanimous understanding of what was happening. I thought it was a far more entertaining show than it was last year.
That's interesting. I think, you know, you have to put it in perspective with what Google just did with Google I/O. And when you do, it didn't come off so bad. I mean, I like we talked about for Google I/O, I mean, these are guys or companies that have, you know, mature platforms. They should be evolving them. They're going to make them work better with existing machines, all that kind of stuff. They're filling in gaps. You know, in Apple's case, there's certainly plenty of those. I mean, I thought it was mostly positive. I mean, I just, you know, the way Apple present, they're so pukey. I mean, it's like they can't help themselves. You know, the way they present things sometimes is so insane.
I don't know. I thought as far as boredom goes, I wasn't really bored until they brought Drake out, and you know they
until Eddie Q started dancing in front of the computer, and you're like, why am I looking at this?
Classic Eddie.
Now we all know what it feels like to be Eddie Q's teenage daughter.
I thought that was, it was so
embarrassed
corny.
of him and for him.
It was so corny. It was funny. I thought it was funny because it was so ridiculous and just.
It was just terrible.
It made me go ugh.
Yeah, like ugh, like seriously.
I think a lot of people go into this thing expecting some big unveiling, and it's something we've been saying this for years, that we are in a very matured stage of technology.
For the most part, you know, for the big platforms.
For these things, you know, we're not going to get these huge revolutionary, oh my God, moments as much as we did 5-6 years ago. But with that said, I do think they had improvements to both operating systems, to iOS and OS X. That
I assume you mean all three operating systems, because now they also have watchOS.
You know what? I hate that stupid thing.
By the way, you know, it's sort of telling that that platform is so brand new and is going to be iterated very quickly. It has to be. It's missing so much stuff. For example, the ability to run apps. And, you know, one of the marquee new features of this thing is like you can put your own photos in the watch face. It's like, oh, wow, guys. You know,
it's
really
2007 again.
Just going to let me put my own photos on my own watch. Thanks. But I mean, that tells you how immature it is. And yet it's just basics, you know.
Do you want to start with El Capitan first?
I love it. El Capitan.
I keep thinking of the Zoolander reference. Do you know which one I'm talking about? I put a video up of it. Listen, it's just minor tweaks here and there.
That was the most minor of all.
Yeah.
I mean, they updated the Mac less than they updated watchOS.
I can't think of what else they could do. You know what I mean? Other than the snapping, fine. I think that's great. Sure. The mission control stuff, I rarely use it, but the fact that I could snap,
nobody does.
I could snap apps, you know.
Look, I can snap spaces.
I don't think anybody uses mission control.
Actually, you can't snap spaces. You can more easily access spaces. And whatever.
They were just small. The biggest thing they said, and they kind of went over it, right, was the fact that the OS is going to be almost 50% faster.
Which, by the way, was one of my tweets.
What does that mean?
If you can make something 50% faster from version to version, something was wrong with the previous version.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's not, oh my God, they did it again. That's like, wait, what? I mean, that tells me that something was wrong.
Because they didn't go into detail on how they're doing it, right? I mean, I guess they spoke about metal and that's going to improve the video graphics, but on what hardware is it going to improve the video graphics? So, but the fact that they said 50% faster over last year's operating system.
That tells me last year's OS wasn't very good.
Listen, they optimize code constantly, right? Microsoft does that, and we talk about 10% improvements from operating system to operating system, release to release. But a 50% improvement is, I don't know what they discovered here. The holy grail of coding, I'm guessing.
Hey, can we compile this thing? I don't know.
I mean, I use Yosemite on a regular basis, and I have to tell you, software that I was using for production, it is very difficult for me to use it on this 2011. And on Maverick, I did not have those issues. I can't record a podcast on this.
I'm not mocking them for this. The Mac is the most mature platform of all. There's just nothing going on here. The number one new feature is like a new system font.
System fonts, Spotlight search.
By the way, Spotlight search, hilarious.
No Siri.
The feature that, exactly. Like a feature that debuted over 10 years ago has been updated. No Siri, though, So here we have Microsoft consolidating all their platforms, right? Offering consistent functionality across phone, tablet, PC. Apple still has Spotlight search on the Mac. And I don't listen to Mac podcasts or read Mac websites, but if those guys are not getting a little idioty about this stuff, they're not doing their jobs.
I think a lot of people are kind of upset about that. The fact that it doesn't have Siri yet. And I can't figure out why.
What could handle the processing needs of Siri better than the Mac?
Better than the Mac, yeah.
Better than the full. I mean, it's crazy.
It's bizarre. But listen, it's like you said, it's a very mature platform. I can't, unless they're going to do a total overhaul, which I don't see them doing of the Mac platform of OS 10.
I think
it makes no sense for them to do that.
No, I mean, what we're seeing instead is on the iPad side, a maturation of that to the point where eventually that can become the mainstream computing platform, not the Mac. I mean, the Mac is,
I mean, isn't it for them already, though? Isn't that their mainstream computing platform at this point, iOS? Considering
it's hard to say. I would say from an installed, that's a tough one.
Because, think about the usage of iOS compared to the usage of the Mac platform.
Yeah, but it's right. So there are obviously more iOS users. That's not the point. What are those users doing? If they're playing Angry Birds and Candy Crush and whatever, that's to me is not a computing platform. It's an entertainment platform. It's a phone is not always the same as a PC. So there are instances, I think at many instances, where an iPad is used for the same thing as the Mac. And so the question is, at what point does the iPad take over for the Mac? It's not ready yet, right? And it never will be ready for high-end engineering type applications, the Photoshop, Adobe Suite, that kind of video work, all that. Of course, it's never going to take over for that stuff. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
He says confidently 2 years before they announced just that. But
yeah,
I shouldn't say never, but not
at
literally
this moment.
Never.
Yeah, at this moment.
But that point that's going to come. I mean, the side by side snap thing that they just introduced was very clearly a predecessor or a precursor of. Sorry, I just did something.
Floating windows.
Right, to an iPad Pro.
Yeah.
Right, to a wider or bigger screen. Maybe not wider screen, but a bigger screen iPad that will be able to really take advantage of that screen of the two apps or whatever. So we'll see. I mean, this is just the first step. This step is not even happening until the fall anyway. And by the time that fall comes, we will probably have new iPhones and new iPads, and we'll see what the world looks like.
I want to talk about that because there were some nonchalant things that they announced that was hinting that they're slowly phasing into iOS being their platform, like we said a couple minutes ago. Some of the stuff maybe some people didn't pick up on, and I wrote notes while I was doing this actually because I wanted to bring it up to you and see what you think. But before we do that, let's take a minute and talk about our sponsor, and that's Braintree. What is Braintree? If you're an app developer, if you're a business that is working on an app, and if you accept payments, especially mobile payments, look into Braintree. So what Braintree does, it's a piece of code where it allows you to accept all different types of payment methods. Uber uses it, Airbnb, Hotel Tonight, Living Social, the list goes on and on how these companies are utilizing this into their platform. It accepts PayPal, Apple Pay. See, we're sticking with the Apple theme here. Apple Pay, Bitcoin, all different types of credit cards, all different types of payment methods. So it's actually this one-stop shop for when you're setting up an app. You don't have to worry about taking different types of code and putting it together so it works. It has a superior fraud protection, customer service, fast payouts. And here's the awesome thing here. If you sign up, go to braintreepayments.com/whatthetech, and your first $50,000 in transaction fees is totally paid for. It's covered. It's fee-free. You don't have to worry about it. So you can try it out, see how you like it. If it works for you and it works for your business and works for your app, this may be the way that you want to go here. They use token systems, so you don't have to worry about your credit card information going everywhere. They do a phenomenal job of creating a mobile cart for you. So check them out. If you're an app developer, give it a chance. BraintreePayments.com/whatthetech. That's BraintreePayments.com/whatthetech. I want to thank Braintree for supporting What the Tech and supporting the GFK network. Everybody says that I'm saying frog protection. It's fraud protection. Maybe it's the Queens that's coming out when I say fraud protection.
Sure.
Frog protection. You know what? It would be phenomenal if they offered you frog protection. You know what? Sign up for Braintree and see if they do that. Frog protection, Paul. Because we need a lot of frog protection. So here was the thing with iOS 9 that I really, I guess, focused in on.
Yep.
They will now allow you. So when you're using Notes, you could actually create a cursor. And you create a trackpad.
Yep. Only in Notes.
Only in Notes. I'm
sorry. I just want to say, when they showed that off, I think like a lot of people, I was like, "What is this Notes? Like, what does this look like?" I never use this thing. Why would I? And so I ran it on my iPhone, and sure enough, there's nothing there. It is literally the most. You can put text. You can just type text into it with a keyboard. There's nothing else. There's no key, like a toolbar with options. There's no fonts. There's no, nothing. There is nothing there. And so I thought that whole sequence was kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to update Maps. You're like, yeah, of course you are, because Maps sucks. Here's a news app. Okay, that's stupid, but I can sort of see you doing that.
I like the news app, actually. I like it because I use Flipboard.
Yeah, okay. You mean Apple Flipboard?
Yeah.
So it's, I just thought it was such a weird, and Apple does this thing, and they've been doing this for years. This is a Steve Jobs thing too. God help you if you are ever an independent developer who does something successful on the Mac at first and now on the iPhone, iOS, because Apple will just put it into the OS.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this forever. Spotlight, by the way, Spotlight Search, or Sherlock before it was Spotlight, was that kind of a thing, to kind of bring it full circle.
Hey, you're doing a great job.
15 years.
You're doing a great job over there. Yeah, you know what we're going to do? We're going to integrate it, and we're going to kill you.
We're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll hear stories where like the developer actually went to Apple and they talked about it, and Apple's like, yeah, we're not really interested. And then they just rip it off.
Yeah.
It's amazing how often that stuff happens. And so Notes is kind of a weird example because in this case, Evernote primarily, but OneNote as well, have been around for a long, long time. And seriously, are you seriously going after one of the best apps on your platform? Flipboard, by the way, same thing. Why would you do that? These apps already show off your platform. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Why? Do people want integration? I mean, I'm one of these people. Do people that want another app they can't delete from the system? Well, that's a very good question too. Yeah.
I mean, think about it from the opposite perspective on Windows Phone. Imagine if Microsoft didn't have a OneNote solution of their own, and Evernote was ignoring Windows Phone, which, by the way, didn't actually happen, but let's just pretend. You could understand where Microsoft would say, you know what, maybe we need to come up with our own note-taking app and maybe we could, if they have APIs, maybe we could integrate it with Evernote or something, just to get it in there so we at least have something. At least you could make the argument in that case, well, okay, we understood the necessity. Why would Apple do this? Why would Apple waste time improving a note app, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why we're focusing on this. It struck me as bizarre.
They're. I mean, I know a lot of people that use Note.
I'm sorry. Let me. I should step back from the cliff a little bit. I don't care that they updated it. They focused on it in the keynote.
I think they focused on it on the. Well, there's a reason why. You know, to go back to wrestling, right? I'm gonna give that. Okay. I'm gonna go back to pro wrestling. In pro wrestling, there's nothing said that means nothing. Meaning everything that is said, even if it's the most nonchalant comment, means something later down the line. I think this was their way of kind of preparing people, saying like, well, look, I could take notes on my Mac. I could, look, there's a trackpad on my Mac. I could use this in the business world. I could use this for note taking. Oh, here you go. Here's the bigger iPad. And guess what? We're going to allow it. We're going to have a little thing on the bottom for a trackpad in the middle. This is their bigger picture here in the most mundane, tiny little bizarro way of doing it. They're kind of putting it in your head that you can do this.
That is extremely fair. I guess but my bigger concern is simply you don't need to do this. In fact, let's put it this way. How much more impressive would it be when the iPad Pro was announced or whatever, if Apple could stand up on stage, which they'll do anyway, and say, oh, and by the way, for the past 2 months, we've been working with Evernote. We've been working with Flipboard. We've been working with whoever. And they've all optimized their apps for this new platform, you know? I mean, rather than just do your own goofy, stupid little, I just find that to be so strange. You know, I don't know. I think there's a big audience of people who would just take it because Apple did it. I get that. But as I tweeted yesterday.
I mean, I'm one of these
because
people.
It's in there.
I would rather, I don't want to go searching
but
for
that's but do you use Google Keep? Because Google Keep is in there on Android. I mean, does anyone use Google Keep?
No, I don't think anybody uses that. No.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Except actually Google Keep is really full-featured and wonderful, and Apple Notes, or whatever they call it, is stupid and sad. But I mean, I don't know. I tweeted this yesterday, and this is probably the smartest thing I tweeted all day. Everyone who uses iOS, not literally everyone, almost everyone, has a folder where they dump all the apps they're never going to look at again, because Apple puts all these apps on there that you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
So I call it Apple, you know, and I throw in stocks and
the compass,
whatever the stupid stuff that comes in there that who cares, whatever it is. Notes is in there because I will never use that. I don't need it.
I think it's more of a statistical thing. You know, you think about the next announcement, they're going to come and say, well, we have something great. You know, our studies have shown, our user base has shown that they're really using the note feature, and they're using, you know, now that we added this, we integrated this, trackpad, we're using it, and it brought us to the conclusion that people want to use this in the business world. They want to use this for note taking. So here it is. I think that's their approach.
You could also make the argument that it's a very small form, but it's a form of lock-in, you know, where
it is a form of lock-in.
If you do convince someone to start taking notes in an app that only exists on your platforms, you know, that would behoove them when it's time to upgrade the hardware, which is where Apple makes the money, to stay with that platform and buy a new iPhone or a new iPad or a new Mac or whatever, because there's no way to export my notes and put them into Evernote. So, here I am.
I mean, here's a great example of locking you in. You want this feature of snapping and multitasking on the iPad? Guess what? Sure. You need an iPad Air 2. You can't do it on the iPad Air.
Right.
You have to, because they want you to go and upgrade. That's why. It doesn't have anything to do with running hardware. I highly doubt that my ability to use this feature on the Mac, on the iPad Air, is going to be that much different than the iPad Air 2. But this is how they get you to upgrade. This is the method that they've had for years.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. People are losing their minds saying, well, this sucks. Why? I'm like, are you surprised? This is what they've done. This is their entire model. They want you to upgrade every 2 years. And we see that with their release cycles.
You could upgrade more than that, but yes, okay, fair enough.
Every 2 years. With the phones, it's every 2 years. With the iPad, every 2 years is the better one. It's just that's how they work, and it's worked for them. Because people go and buy this crap, not crap literally, but crap. You know.
Yep. Yes.
Except for, you know what is a piece of crap? I got to use that Mac.
Which one?
The Mac. The new Mac. The MacBook.
The MacBook, yeah.
Oh, God. You want to talk about a piece of garbage?
Are you talking about the keyboard or the trackpad?
Okay, stunningly beautiful.
Of course.
Okay? Stunningly. I mean, just oh my god, this is a beautiful machine. The keyboard is a little bizarre.
Unusable. Yeah.
It's a little bizarre. I mean,
It's unusable. Yeah.
It didn't work well for me because I like to feel the keys. You
Put it
know,
another way, it doesn't work. Go on.
the trackpad, I didn't find it to be that awful.
You will be shocked to discover, because I was, that this kind of force-click trackpad thing, not invented by Apple, and that's not the first machine that's appeared on. HP has been shipping devices with that kind of a trackpad for about 1.5 years now, and I just got one in for review, and I'm going to write about it soon. But I was shocked to discover that it is virtually identical, same exact thing, and they've been shipping it since January 2014. No moving parts.
Yeah. It was functionality wise. I mean, performance wise, it's. I would rather get an iPad and put a keyboard on it. I mean, it was slow.
Sure.
It was really slow.
You
Really
have a
slow.
much better option than that. Just get an iPad Air, and you can save a lot of money. You can
Yeah.
get a 13-inch one for under $900 right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was so that was my little take from that. So let's talk about some of the bigger news here.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about the music service. $9.99, it's $14.99 for a family plan, which I find the pricing to be exactly where it should be.
Although there were many rumors ahead of time that Apple wanted $7.99, and I don't know what for the family. That would have been an amazing thing, and basically there was pushback from the music industry.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The $14.99 family pricing is amazing, especially since it's 6 people. I don't know what the machine limit is. I assume it's the whatever number per person, right? That it's not 6 machines or something, or 12 machines, but it's hopefully you get to put this music on, whatever number of computers, 3, 4 at least. But yeah, $14.99. I thought, actually, I will say this before we get into the rest of the music. I actually think that is maybe the single only unique feature that they announced that is of importance. The rest of it was just like, yeah, we've seen this before. Or, sorry, in the case of Beats One, completely unnecessary.
The biggest, so I don't know, the music service, I don't know how many people are going to take away from Spotify, but the fact that iTunes is going to be on Android in the fall, that's a huge story right there. Yep. And I'm curious on how this is going to impact Google.
I don't think Google has gotten a lot of traction with Google Music. Although, by the way, I think Google Music is great. I think it works fine. I think the thing that Apple is doing is what Microsoft talked about doing with Xbox Music, but they didn't really pull it off, which was have one service that does everything. Microsoft got pretty close to it with Xbox Music. Nobody knows it exists, so it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Google Music gets sort of close. What they don't have is that Pandora-style radio type thing. And of course, streaming-only services or streaming-first services, if you will, like Spotify and Beats, actually, have this kind of curated playlist kind of thing, which I think some people really like. They're the people who would have, in the 1980s, like, for example, you're going to drive around in your, 1985 IROC Camaro or whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to be listening to one of two things, the radio or a cassette, right? And a cassette is going to be a cassette that is literally an album made by a group or a mixtape that you made that's your own music that you've kind of made for yourself. And those are kind of the two options. There's the kind of unknown of radio where it's like a certain kind of music, but you don't know what's coming next and it's live, so you can't go back and forth and so forth. Or a known, an album or a playlist of your own making. And we have those same choices today. And I think Apple is trying to do all of them with Apple Music.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, they're probably going to be very successful. It's not something that didn't exist before, but they're big enough, I think, especially in the music world, that they might be able to pull it off and prevent more of people going to Spotify in particular.
I mean, I'm going to tell you, I use iTunes to purchase music, and I'm an Android user.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't really,
It's decent quality music, and I'm trying to think. When I actually buy digital music, I believe I actually go to iTunes first as well.
Because I
don't have any problem buying it
It's a far easier experience.
Well, they just seem like really clean, high quality, 256K AAC files, just, I mean, I don't, well, I mean, I do buy music every year. I don't buy as much as I used to, obviously. But if every once in a while, this hasn't happened in a few years, but you'll have a situation where some favorite group of mine will release an album and they'll have like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 even songs that are unique on iTunes. And then they'll have maybe 1 or 2 that are unique on this cert, like Amazon has happened. And then maybe 1 or 2 even on Xbox Music, although I can't think of an example of that. And so I might, like double buy it and then just keep the, the tracks that are unique or whatever and put them everywhere or whatever. But yeah, I think I guess overall I probably do the same thing.
I'm gonna definitely install it on my phone. Now the question is, how is it gonna function on Android? Are you gonna miss features? What's gonna be missing on Android?
I mean, honestly, if they do, I can't imagine this is not going to be the music app. If you have access to iOS 8.4, which you'd have to be in a developer program to have access to, you can see the music app today.
Yeah,
and the music app is just the iTunes app simplified. It's a simpler toolbar, fewer options. And
but it's integrated within iTunes, no, or is it separate?
No, the music app replaces the iTunes app.
Oh, replaces the iTunes app.
Yeah, it's just called Music.
Oh, wow. So what happens? Yeah. Oh, and podcast is split
iTunes
also.
Is gone.
Okay, so iTunes is gone.
Podcast is still podcast,
yeah.
Right? It's still separate.
But on the desktop.
In other words, the way Apple does things is they have like an iTunes Store app. That's for buying everything. Apps, games, music, videos, podcasts, iTunes U.
Yeah.
I think it's downloaded through there as well. Music is just from you. It's called iTunes. Actually, it might be, by the way, it's probably been called Music for some times. But Music is the
purchase music that you have.
No, it's the playback app. It's the player experience for iTunes, essentially for iTunes Music, But your own music, too, is. Let me see. I can just bring it up. Sorry, I'm talking about it.
Yeah, because there's two. There's iTunes and then there's music. So is
no. Well, the iTunes Store. Right. There's the iTunes Store. There's also a videos app, right, as you would expect, and a podcast app. But so music is just. It looks like iTunes does and did in iOS 7 and 8. It's kind of stark and white. It's got red icons and, but it's simple now. So it's like My Music, Playlist, and Radio. This is an 8.4. And under My Music, then you can go into albums, songs, music videos, genres, et cetera, et cetera. There's a nice toggle for play, like only showing offline music, which they didn't have before. If you think, I think the way iTunes worked in the past was if you were offline, it would just automatically filter the list. Just that was how you could see, what you could play back when you were offline.
Yeah.
It's just a simpler, right? It's an idea.
Yeah. So how are they going to do that?
I think it's been called Music.
Okay. So how it's going to be a totally separate style app than on Android. It's not going to be the same exact thing that you're getting on iOS.
Honestly, I don't see any reason why it couldn't be exactly the same. Compare the Spotify app on the two platforms, or not that anyone's ever run this except for me, but compare the Xbox Music app on iOS and Android. They're identical, basically, aside from user interface conventions that are unique to the platform.
And I'm wondering if videos are going to be sold on this. If iTunes is available, that means videos are going to be available too. You could buy video.
Okay, so actually you've raised an interesting point, which is iTunes. I don't know, is iTunes available? So the Music app is available on Android, right?
They said iTunes. I heard iTunes will be available.
I can't imagine they're going to have an iTunes app on Android, like an iTunes Store app. I mean, so
iTunes on Android, yeah, that's what they call it.
Says iTunes on Android.
Apple Music is coming to Android this fall.
Android handsets, by the way, it's very specific.
Eddie Q did say iTunes on stage, causing a brief moment of confusion.
Okay, I was going to say that I would understand because I think from Apple's perspective, they think of it as iTunes, right? Okay. But iTunes is really just the parent kind of service, right, for the whole thing, and it happens to be the name of the app on Windows and the Mac. But on I believe on iOS it's been called Music for quite some time because when you run the app, you're only seeing music, right? The iTunes Store app is where you see all the content up in the store. I guess the question would be on Android, how would you access content in the store?
Yeah. Well, how do you access content, and what content do you access? Are the podcasts available? Because podcasts are available on,
if it's just
iTunes on desktop, it's available.
I think the point of this is not I mean, look, maybe they could do. It would be amazing if Apple put their podcast app on Android, but they never hinted at that. I think the point of this app is to provide you with a way to stream music from iTunes to the music
So
app.
the store. See, I think the confusion is in what they called it, because they initially said iTunes will be available. So when I think iTunes is available, I'm imagining the iTunes Store, iTunes Video, iTunes Podcast, everything that you could virtually buy in the iTunes Store, you could buy on Android. But I think it's going to be called Apple Music.
So here's the
on
problem.
Android.
Yeah, I think you're right. So in the 8.4 I don't have 9.0 installed in here. So in the 8.4 version of this app, we don't see any of the subscription stuff. So I can't know what it looks like. Obviously, you need some way to go find the content and add it to your collection, or just stream it. So there has to be some access to it. I know how Microsoft does it in Xbox Music. I have no idea how Apple would do it. I mean, if you were to, if it ever would work, trying to launch a radio station. Like I know when I've done this in the past, when you play a radio station, which is iTunes Radio,
on the phone or on desktop,
on the phone,
okay.
that there is it's not working for some reason, but there's an opportunity to buy that music today. I would imagine in the future there would also be an opportunity to add that music to your cloud collection or whatever they're going to call it, right? I don't know. I guess it's not inconceivable that the Android version of this app would have a store icon on the bottom in the toolbar, because maybe
and you
on
buy
that
music.
One,
Why wouldn't they? I mean, it's stupid if they don't. If they're only doing this for subscriptions, you have to be able to purchase music. I mean, it would be the silliest thing ever.
I guess the question is how they're going to do it. So, like I said, you like everyone else has never looked at Xbox Music, but Xbox Music doesn't have a store experience. What they have is you can search, right? You can go in and you can say like, here are the artists that I have in my collection. So Van Halen is one of them, and so I can see all of the Van Halen albums that I have in my collection. And then at the bottom, there's a thing you can expand, and it will show you the rest of the stuff that's in the store. And from there, I can choose to add it to my collection or stream it or whatever. So there's no like separate store interface. The store is just kind of everywhere.
It's there, yeah.
So there are different ways to do it.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
I think that was the biggest story here, that they've opened up to Android. I think that's a big shift in philosophy for that company.
Well, or you could argue a continuation of that kind of thing they've done in the past. I mean, they put iTunes and the iPod on Windows when they had to. I mean, this is the clearest indication yet that they're concerned about Android, right?
I mean, everybody is, though, and they should be.
No, I know, but I get a lot of pushback from people when I say, Apple's just a simple statement. Apple is concerned about Android. And people say, whoa. Why would they be concerned about Android? They're making most of the profits in the industry on devices. They, on and on and on. And it's like, well, then why would they release an iOS? An Android version of music?
I'll tell you why they're afraid of Android. Paul, I'm going to tell you something you may not know. There's something called emerging markets. And
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and the U.S. is a matured market. These companies don't feel that they're going to make buttloads of dollar bills like they did a couple of years ago in the U.S. And China's the next market for them. And there was a reason why they brought up China 4 or 5 times during this keynote. Did
you notice that the transit thing on maps, it was like 300 places in China, and then 4 or 5 other cities around.
4 or 5, yeah.
It really was that stark.
And India is going to follow, and the South Pacific, the South Pacific is going to follow, or you're going to have more anywhere that is emerging with a dense population that is doing well. That's where they're going to go. So of course they're terrified, because guess what? People in rural China are not buying iPhones like we are in this country. They're buying whatever is the cheapest and available, and it is most likely it's an Android device.
Well, but I mean, what did they announce that speaks to that market? I mean, how does Apple?
Well, again, it's services, right? It's what Microsoft is doing. It's not about selling the hardware or software. It's becoming a services company. And Apple's looking at it in the sense that, you know what, maybe we should become a services company by putting iTunes on Android. We're still going to get their money. Who cares if they're buying an iPhone? Because we're going to make much more.
No, I mean, I'm not sure what the market is for
subscription. Well, I think it's a start, right? Because if you look at it, you're paying $10 a month. It's $100 a year. That's pretty much what you would pay. You know, let's say it's $199 on a contract.
They never did release like a yearly thing, right? Like in other words, you could pay $10 a month, but could you pay $100 a year?
You probably could.
I mean, I don't know. Like, we can't sign up for it.
They don't want those full payments. I spoke to
no,
somebody,
I know they don't.
I know someone that's in that business. He has like a recurring monthly processing, but for his company, and it's a little shady what he does. I don't want to say what he does, but it's a little shady. And I was asking him, like, can they pay all up front? He goes, no, I don't. Why would I want them to do that? I want the money constantly coming in. I want it to be forgotten on their credit cards, where every year it's just processed every single year. There you go. Payment.
Right.
I was like, well, you make sense. I think that, for Apple, it's going to be outside of the U.S. Their future is outside of the U.S. Same with every other company.
Right.
It's not, I can't see them. I mean, what were the cities? London?
Yeah, I don't. It was
like it wasn't even every city in the U.S.
Oh no, it was literally 6 to 8 cities worldwide, not including China. And then the way they said it, unless I missed it, what it sounded like was plus 300 cities in China. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe I misheard that. Maybe it's 300 cities, and some of them are in China. But
I remember them talking really. Really strongly about China. They really want that market.
Well, as they've been doing now for a few years.
Yeah,
right?
they really want that market.
Really trying to love China. Love China.
I don't know. So overall, it was what it was. This announcement. It was what it was. It was exactly what people anticipated it to be. That one more thing. So I didn't even make notes about the watch because it shows how much I care about this watch.
It was silly. Yeah.
It was.
There wasn't much going on with the watch.
There wasn't much. I mean, they did fix a lot of those
photos and what did they call them? Like the little GIF animations.
I
forgot. Put them on your watch.
I forgot what it was. Yeah.
Time lapse. It's like, okay, sure.
It was small improvements. Exactly what they needed to do with it. I mean, it's very.
I mean, the big one is the ability to run apps directly on the watch, and then allow developers to target watch features like the crown, the side button, those complexities, which I'll just restate, terrible name for a feature. Fine. It's all fine. It's fine.
No Apple TV?
No, but right before the show, there was that rumor like it was going to happen. And here, I just found the slide, by the way. I've been trying to find this. I lost it. It's killing me. It was Berlin.
Okay.
Really want to know what
London.
I wish I lost it.
There's Berlin, London, Paris, New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, Chicago. Right? There were like 4 cities in the U.S.
Yeah, well, that they show it. But the question is whether he said 300 other cities.
Worldwide.
But it sounded to me like he said China. I could have completely
300 Chinas.
I mean, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, what? I just went over God damn it. I keep going right over this. Beijing.
Okay.
I can't pronounce any of these places. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They listed 10
Chinese cities.
Just China. I swear to God, I got to find this. It's killing me. All right. So the U.S. cities, Baltimore, Berlin, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. Also mentioned London, Toronto, and Mexico City. Hold on. He literally said these and 300 more in China. He did say that.
He did.
He literally says that.
Maybe it was like how they said iTunes is coming to Android.
Okay. I'm just saying I heard it correctly is my point.
That's
because it was a small number of less than 10, I guess it was, around the world, plus 9 cities in China, plus 300 more in China. That's what he said. That's what he said. I mean, it could be wrong, but that's what he said.
Interesting. I found that very interesting.
Sorry.
So that was the event, and for people that are developers, they're going to be streaming all their conferences, or 20 conferences throughout the next day or two.
Yeah, so I think there are people. By the way, one of the things that they didn't announce, which is bizarre because it's a developer show. There was, as somebody noted on Twitter, Not a single line of code was shown. Not a single update to the developer environment was shown. Apple Music got plenty of time. It has nothing to do with developers. I think the way they do that's a little screwy, but sorry, I just lost.
Well, you're not a fan of Drake. I mean, I'm still disappointed that you did not know who Drake was.
He looks like one of the Cosby kids. I don't know. Is he wearing a sweater? What was that?
He used to be on Degrassi.
That doesn't mean anything to me. I just don't. I don't know what to say. I'm desperate to find out this maps thing. I'm sorry.
You're dying. It's going to drive you nuts.
I'm very distracted.
I'm curious too about the maps thing. Apple confirms Apple Music will allow you to download albums for offline listening. That came out. Okay.
Yep.
I'm just trying to find what they called it.
One of the things, by the way, in Maps they announced was that nearby feature, which is something I write about all the time in Windows Phone. We've had this feature in Windows Phone since 2010. Local Scout or whatever, but now they just call it nearby.
What does the nearby do?
In other words, you're looking at a map, or you're literally looking at the map of where you are at the time, and it shows you stuff that's nearby. Popular places, restaurants, stores.
That you would be interested in.
Well, no, that are highly rated. In other words, I'm trying to find a bakery. A bakery is one of the choices of places. Tap bakery, and it shows you on the map where all the local bakeries are, and you can see on the list what their ratings are. And then you can find the one that's closest that has the highest rating or whatever.
Yeah.
It literally doesn't tell you what the 300 thing. It's not in here. It's killing me.
It's not there. You'll figure it out as soon as we end the show. So I want to talk about Windows 10 a little bit.
Yes. Okay.
You had a very good blog post, an article posted on therot.com about if you should move over. Is this for you? I want to talk about that. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody, after the show, we're recording the show early, but after the show, we do a bonus show. It's called What the Talk, where Paul and I talk about whatever comes to mind. We're going to do our Throwback Tuesday today, where Paul talks about something from Tech Past. And we reminisce about the good days of using a Tandy and going on Prodigy. But no, that was just me. If you want to watch that show, obviously we broadcast it live each and every week following What the Tech. But if you want to get it on demand and you want to tip us, you want to help us out, you can fund us. Patreon.com/whatthetech is the site. You go there, tip us whatever you want to tip us, and you get access to a plethora of archive shows. Archived What the Talks right on there. That's patreon.com/whatthetech. Also, if you're making a purchase on Amazon and you want to help out the GFQ network, use our Amazon link, gfq.co/Amazon. That's gfq.co/Amazon. Bookmark it, and whenever you buy something, I get a tiny little credit, and it helps us do upgrades. So yesterday, I had to buy a new video card for my production machine. If you're watching live, you're going to see that the video is a little bit more fluid than it was last week. Flowing a lot better now. And I was able to buy that with the Amazon credits that I've built up over the last couple of months. Yeah, I'm hoarding Amazon credits, Paul. So you could help us out that way. gfq.co/Amazon, bookmark it, and whenever you buy something on Amazon, help us out. Let's talk about this article you posted.
Before we move on, because it's important that we never move on.
You found it.
I know. I apologize for being so distracted today. According to this article in Apple Insider, it will be available in those cities we mentioned, and it will be available in 30 other cities in China.
30 other.
30.
Okay, I mean, you were close. You were off by a zero, but...
No, he said 300. I just heard him say it again. Craig Federini said 300. So apparently it's 30.
Yeah. Okay. 30.
Anyway.
30 cities.
It's still an amazing emphasis on China.
It is.
It's several cities at best in the U.S., one city in the U.K., one city in Canada, and 30 in China. Interesting. Okay, sorry. I'll
okay.
This one.
So I want to talk about this because again, I'm in the minority here, and you're in the minority, and a lot of our viewers that might have an issue upgrading are also in the minority if they're concerned about software. So I reached out to two manufacturers of software and hardware that I work with, and that our entire operation relies on. And when I asked them about Windows 10 and if I should upgrade, if I could have seen them over the phone, I would have seen them go, they had no idea.
Right.
They weren't too sure if this is going to hurt or help. And they go, well, the only way to do it is to try to go, have you been testing it? And you go, well, yeah, we've been testing it, but it's not like it won't be supported until the next version of the software. So,
well, okay. So, I mean,
again, this is very specific, right? This is
truth is, most stuff is going to work just fine.
Most stuff is probably going to work. And
this is not a. Well, I'm just saying it's Windows. It's not like we just rewrote the whole thing and hopefully stuff works. I mean, it's version it's 8.2. It's from an application compatibility standpoint. So,
but
honestly,
my it's not so much if it's going to work, and because they said, well, if it works on 8.1, it should work. I go, it should work or it will work, and they go, well, it should work. They can't. And I've never seen that with a version. Normally because you go and buy it, or it comes with it. It's supported.
Microsoft has been very particular to make this seem like a very new thing. Just the name, Windows 10. They didn't just skip 8.2. They skipped 9. Right? They're trying to make this thing sound like something new and different and wonderful. And there are all the benefits to go along with that. But there's also the dark side, and that's what you're hitting on, which is like, well. I mean, will Office work? I mean, I have Office 2007. Is that going to work? I mean, people might start getting nervous, which I understand. But I think for the most part, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Although you'll notice I'm not guaranteeing it.
Yes, but that's the interesting thing, right? Because normally there's a no, it's not going to work until the next version, right? That's normally what you get.
Well.
I mean, I've gotten that when Windows 8 came out. I was told by all the hardware and software manufacturers that I work with, they told me, do not upgrade until we put out the next version because we cannot guarantee that this is going to run in a stable way. Because they haven't done enough testing. But now because...
Well, Windows 8 screwed everything up. I mean, Windows 10 is interesting. I mean, if you had a Windows 8 app, like a Metro app, it should run just fine on Windows 10. If you had a desktop application like Photoshop or iTunes or Chrome that ran on Windows 7 or whatever, it should run just fine on Windows 10.
Yeah.
There are new universal apps, obviously, that will be unique to Windows 10. They'll run just fine. Adobe Air apps will run just fine. Web apps will run just fine. I mean, everything should just work.
Adobe Air still has apps?
I get Adobe Air updates every once in a while, so I'm trying to think what would that be for?
TweetDeck was Adobe Air at some point.
TweetDeck, yeah, sure. I used to think Adobe Air was kind of a good idea, but so was ActiveX, I guess. Anyway,
ActiveX was a very good idea too, until your desktop crashed.
Sure.
And then you had ActiveX crash and everything went black on your desktop.
Yep.
That was the fun days.
Those were the days.
So here's my question. Because it's available, and this is what I've been telling everybody, if you even in the slightest bit think your software will not work, or you have some weird specific software, do not do the update on July 29th.
No.
Wait. Do not do it.
I would take it even further than that. Microsoft is, rightly so, I guess, proud of the fact that so many millions of people have been testing this thing, and that's fantastic. But the stark reality is that when this thing goes out to hundreds of millions of people, there are going to be new combinations of hardware configurations that they've never tested, and things are going to go south that they never anticipated. That happens with every single version of Windows. Let the world be your guinea pig. If you have any question at all, if you don't know for a fact that you will be able to recover this computer no matter what happens to it, do not upgrade. Just wait. You have a year.
Yeah.
Life's not going to change because you don't get it on the 29th.
But
you
know
can
what?
Get it on August 29th.
Human nature. They're going to see this thing on the bottom. It's going to tell them Windows 10 is available.
Well, and by the way,
it's going to haunt them. It's going to taunt them and haunt them until they click yes.
Which is one of the big things that I have an issue with, that Microsoft would advertise this thing in such a fashion. They have a video up on YouTube, and it's borderline irresponsible, where it's like, it's so easy even a kid could do it. And they show like various little kids clicking on buttons. See, like even a kid could upgrade it, which is, it's cute and it's funny, But for the hundreds of thousands of problems that could occur to a Windows system after an upgrade to a new version of the OS, is one of those kids going to be here to help me troubleshoot it? I don't think so. And even if they were, they would be useless because it may be so easy to upgrade that even a kid could use it. But it's going to take a professional to fix it if something goes wrong.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, right?
Yeah.
To kind of play on your argument. Well, again, it's a new version of Windows, but it's not really. It's more like a version 8.2.
No, that's
you know what? Is that an argument for them?
No, because that assumes everything works. Now you have to go through the process of learning the new system, which will or will not be dramatic based on your experience and so forth. What I'm talking about is you're like, yeah, okay, click upgrade, and then you go eat a sandwich or something, and you come back and your computer's sitting there with a blank screen, a little cursor blinking up in the corner. Now, what do? What if something goes wrong? By the way, what if nothing goes wrong? And you say, you know what? I gave this thing a shot. I thought I would do it. I don't really like it. I think I'm going to go back to my old version of the OS. Can I do that? How do I do that? What if I do that and then something goes wrong?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is why I write books, right? And on the web, I'll do this as well. I will provide the information that anyone could use to recover this process at any point in time and go back to what they had before at the very least. So at the very least, your computer will work. But Microsoft can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
And I find it irresponsible to suggest that
anybody could do it and you should do it immediately.
Anyone, even a child could do it. Yeah, even a child could drive a car out into traffic. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's safe.
See, but here are the nightmare scenarios that I envision happening. Your company gives you a laptop. It's your work laptop. That's what you're working on. There's this specific software that your company relies on, and you see this update on the bottom, and you have to hit OK because you have no self-control. Because I'm one of these people. I have zero self-control when it comes to updates.
Yep.
And your software's not working anymore, and you run in on Monday morning to your IT department. There's going to be a lot of these situations happening.
By the way, if you have an IT
department. If you have an IT department.
I mean, right. So
there's going to be a lot of this. So my suggestion is, and this is what I've been telling everybody, almost every relative of mine has called me to say, hey, Andrew, first of all, a lot of people don't even understand that it's not available right now. They think Windows 10 is available right now.
Sure.
And I'm like, no, it's not available right now. It's July 20th. It goes, well, do I do it then? I go, no. Do not do the update. Wait. Well, how long should I wait? I don't know. 6 months? I think that's a good amount of time.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
am I going to hit the update button? Damn right I am.
Of course.
On all my production machines.
I do this all the time. I did this. I downloaded iOS 9 yesterday and hosed my iPhone.
Yeah.
It didn't work. I had to go back to iOS 8.4. But
at least you have the ability to be able to do that. You know how to do that.
I know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I'm standing here with this thing where it's like, I cannot communicate with your phone. My phone's got this red thing on the screen. It's not what I want to see.
Yeah.
But to me, that's just a setback. It doesn't mean that my phone's not going to work. It just means I have to go through the work of getting it back. I'm backing this thing up. It's fine. I put it right back, actually. But for people, normal people, the billion plus people that are running Windows that could upgrade, anything could go wrong. I'm not saying it will. I do think this is the most reliable upgrade they've ever done to a new OS version. I think they're going to have the best success rate. But still, I mean, you want to be really careful.
I mean, for them, it's really a number game, right? They want to say that,
yes.
I'm throwing a number. 40% of all Windows users upgraded within the first 2 months of Windows 10 being available. That's what they really want.
100 million people signed up for the Windows 10 reservation system within a week or something. They want numbers.
And that's why it's there. It's in your face. I mean, I don't know. I kind of have a problem with it. I kind of have an issue with it.
I have a big problem with it. Big problem. The way they advertised it, the 8.1 upgrade to 8 from 8, I thought was appropriate. It was in the store. You had to kind of go looking for it. I have a big problem with the fact that when you do click on that icon, there's no button that says, you know what, I don't want this. Or, hey, why don't you remind me in a few months? There is no good reason for an individual to upgrade to Windows 10 immediately on an existing computer. There's no good reason.
Yeah.
None. You may look, if you're in Windows 8.1 and you're like, I really want the start menu, or I really want floating windows, spend $10 and get the StarDock utilities
and see, use that for a little bit.
And your system will work great.
Yeah. It
just,
I'm
don't knee jerk this one.
This is going to be a great release for them as far as functionality and giving people what they want. But I also see this becoming a troubleshooting nightmare.
Sure.
Because of bizarre softwares that may not function properly. That's what I'm seeing happening. Or I could be wrong, or everything may work perfectly fine.
I think they've done more testing for this version than they have ever done in the past, and I think it doesn't matter. Just the sheer weight and force of the Windows user base, as they do start upgrading, they're going to see things they never saw during testing.
Yeah.
They just are. Let other people go through that. 30 days minimum.
Yeah.
What you said, months better. There's no rush. By the way, here's a thought. Let's throw this one out there. Just get it with the next computer.
Yeah, just
why would you?
No, everybody's going to upgrade. Everybody.
I don't think everyone is actually, but
you don't think so?
Why would you screw with a perfectly working computer? What is name me the Windows 10 feature that you can't live without, that you just got to have today?
Why do people rip out their intakes on their Honda Civics and put a cold air intake on them?
Well, those aren't people though. Those are enthusiasts. I'm talking about normal people. In other words,
I think it's bigger and better. I think the fact that that you get something better, you want it. It's new. You want it. It's the same reason why Microsoft knows that we have no self-control when it comes to this. And something is offered, so that they put that thing on the bottom, and you can't remove it. You can, but not a normal person.
In the Apple event yesterday, they did a couple of comparisons between uptake on iOS and Android in one case, and iOS and Windows 8.1 in the other case, right? And the percentage of users who had upgraded to the latest version of Mac OS X was what? Do you remember what it was? I want to say it was 55%. The percentage of people who had upgraded to Windows 8.1 was, I don't remember, 8.5%, somewhere in that. It was a very sharp difference.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Mac OS X is free.
Yeah.
Almost half of all the people who use Mac OS X have not upgraded to the latest version of Mac OS X. Now, some of them maybe can't. Maybe some of them are older computers and they can't. But even on the Mac, where we've known for years now that Mac OS X upgrades are free, they still don't have 80, 90% upgrade rates. So, in the Windows world, we tend to be a little more skittish.
Yeah.
We're not as accepting that the mothership has all the answers and is going to do everything right. I don't think we're going to see that kind of upgrade thing. And by the way, I think that's why they're pushing it so hard, because I think Microsoft knows that.
See, I also I could tell you from experience on the Mac side, the same software company that I'm talking about.
Yep.
They have, when let's say Yosemite was announced,
mm-hmm.
These companies have said, do not, no matter our software will not work properly. Do not use it on Yosemite. I'm telling you right now, do not install Yosemite until the next version of the software. They can't give us that same answer on Windows, and I find that bizarre.
Well, because Windows, it just tends to work. And by the way, the numbers were 55% for Yosemite, and 7% for Windows 8.1.
7%, yeah, 2 to 1.
It's just Windows 8.1. The truth is, if you had 8 and 8.1, it's probably 15 or 20 or whatever. But anyway, but 55 is not a huge number. Apple always talks about that upgrade rate that they get on iOS and how that compares to Android, right? A tiny percent, I think it was 5% probably.
Was it 55% of Maverick users or 55% of all OS X users?
Wow. Well, look, he said 300 for cities in China. I don't think it matters. This is just something that was said on stage. I don't know.
Yeah.
The adoption rate for Yosemite is 55%. I would imagine it's of the user base.
Yeah, of the user base.
55% of all Mac users are on Mac OS X is my guess.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, Paul. Let's wrap it up.
Today,
hey, guys, if you're just tuning in, no, listen. This is what we do here. Two guys sitting at a bar. That's what I talk about. That's what I say.
One of them is drunk. You just realized, I showed up drunk.
Yeah, Paul showed up drunk to the bar, and now I have to catch up.
Right.
If you're tuning in live, guys, we started the show an hour early. It was a very last-minute change. I apologize for the change. I apologize. Normally, we know a couple hours or a day ahead of time that we're going to move the show, but we're going to do what to talk now, and then we're going to go into replay. So if you're watching live, that's what we're doing. If you're not watching live, ignore all of that. I said nothing right now. Paul, that was a fun show. You can go to Thurrott.com, all things Paul Thurrott, catch it there. A lot of great articles, and you guys should read it. We didn't really go into the details, but should you upgrade to Windows 10, very quick and easy read for people who are kind of on the fence and they haven't determined if they should upgrade to Windows 10. So you should read that article. Paul also does a phenomenal podcast called Windows Weekly on the Twit Network, live.twit.tv every Wednesday at 2 p.m. East with Mary Jo Foley and Lee Laporte. You can catch it there. Anything coming up, Paul? Any projects?
No, I mean, I'm working on a Windows 10 book. Next week, by the way, is I'm not going now, but is E3.
Yes, it
So
is.
there'll be lots to talk about next week. But
Xbox,
nothing
video
special.
games.
Yep.
A lot of stuff to talk about. You can follow me on Twitter at AndrewZarian. You can follow Paul at The Rot. And we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye for now.